Hey Parkway family, we wanted to bring you something a little different tonight, a marriage panel question and answer from some wonderful families here in our church, Derek and Delilah Vance, Kenneth and Beatrice Scott, Jerry and Elsie Marshall. I believe that in this moment, the next few moments, you're going to gain insight and wisdom from some precious couples who have walked down the road of life hand in hand, and their marriage has lasted and continued through some storms and some trials. Their faith in God and their love for each other has remained strong. I believe you're about to be blessed. Stay tuned, plug in, give your attention to this moment. God bless you. What is the key to your success in this stage, in this season of your marriage?
Foundation, I think, is to every marriage, especially in the church, is having that foundational scripture right there. Husband, love your wives as Christ loved the church. And if we do that, then our marriage, even though it's going to be up and down and, in and out, still you got that foundation, a solid foundation there. Love is the solid foundation.
The main key to the success all through the years, and particularly in this season, is God's faithfulness to us. When your body fails you, when you feel like your mind may be failing you at some point, when just life is failing you in the waning years of your life, God is still there. He's still right here with us. He is faithful.
2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, we were blessed with a miracle from God, and that has kind of changed our outlook on marriage and obviously life itself. When you now have a gift from God that you're taking care of and loving, in addition to your spouse, you have to adjust accordingly. And just that communication, sometimes communication in the midst of chaos, I would like to say, but I would say that would be what our key to success was.
How often do you tell each other that you love each other, and how important is that to a marriage?
Every day.
Yeah. It's every day. When we first got married or even first got together, you say that so often and then it kind of go away. But you have to reach and grab that and bring it back into your life and hold on to it.
Anytime I leave our home, I always tell her I love you. She tells me the same thing. As we get older, you learn you don't have as long to live as you already live. And life becomes more precious to you. And you realize things like when you were young, you took things for granted a lot of times. And as you get older, you've learned through life. Life's won't always be here. You won't always be here. I've heard Brother Dylan say it and Brother Travis many times. Things change. People change. We all change. It's not a perfect world we live in. But I understood one thing through all my years. Trust in God. Believe in God. That's important, very important as you grow older.
The last thing that we say at night before we go to sleep is, I love you.
That's right.
That's the very last thing almost every night without fail. That's what we say every night.
We tell each other we love each other every day, multiple times a day.
Yeah, and I think the question itself brings up something, I guess, a little comical about our marriage. We do tell each other that we love each other every day. Sometimes Delilah will look at me and she'll say, I love you, babe, but I just don't like you right now. But we do still tell each other we love each other every day, and I think that's very important in our marriage.
Love is a choice, not an emotion.
That's right.
We choose to love one another every day, but we don't always like to be around. I'm just being honest. I love him every day, but I don't always want to be around him every second of every day.
How do you handle conflict in your marriage?
You have to recognize that you have to recognize that you have a problem or conflict. And then, like I said, once you recognize that you have the problem, then you pray about it and let God work it out.
Yeah, that's more easily said than done. Pray about it and let God work it out. Because you know, I'm a fixer.
We definitely have two different approaches to the way that we go about resolving a conflict within a marriage.
I just don't like to operate in anger, and sometimes when you're so upset at your spouse or anyone, if things are gonna fly out of your mouth that maybe you didn't take time to think about. So I prefer to step away from the issue for a while. I'm not saying that you don't address it, you still address it, but I wanna step back and think about it, process, pray, breathe, and then try to come back.
For myself, I'm the type of person that likes to talk about it. Let's sit down right then, talk it out, you know, reach a resolution and move on. It's kind of unique in that you would think that maybe as a man, you know, I would be quiet, kind of keep my anger within myself and talk about it later, and Delilah would be the one that would be more talkative and emotional and want to get it out. But for our marriage, it's just the opposite.
We all know that life is a serious thing, but sometimes we can take life just too seriously, or certain incidents we can take too seriously. And we have learned, if we get into conflict about something, have a little humor there sometimes. And we each will do that. If one is a little bit upset about a conflict, usually we'll find, and most time maybe it's me because I'm more inclined to be that, to find that humorous side in something. There's some laughter and a little bit of levity in it, and then we can navigate on through whatever the conflict is, and we usually get it resolved. He usually says yes, and no, I'm kidding.
If the husband loved the wife like Jesus Christ loved the church, then when conflict arises, you may be right. Jesus Christ was right. He didn't do anything wrong. But he says, Lord, forgive them. And so we have to be the ones that say, I'm sorry. She'll tell you, I apologize more than I ever apologized since we've been married than ever. And it's always, but I had to get used to that. And I believe every husband, even though you're strong, you're the breadwinner, you want to be, you're the provider and the protector of your home, still you have to get to a place where you can say, you know what, I'm sorry. I was wrong, I apologize.
If you can't forgive the person that you're supposed to love, and you said your vows, and you said, I'll love and take care of her. I'll be her friend, I'll be here for her in need. If you can't do that for that person, then who are you going to forgive? And again, it strikes me hard to believe God forgave me, and I can't forgive my spouse. I've never seen God, but I see my spouse all the time, every day. And you can't forgive them? We have to have forgiveness, because nobody's perfect. That's real important in a marriage. And you have to keep on loving, regardless of whether somebody hurt you or not. You have to keep on loving, and you have to keep on forgiving.
What is one thing that you have struggled with in this season of your life, or really any season of your life, and how has your walk with God helped you overcome that struggle?
As being a leader, you got to be able to really stay prayerful. And so when somebody come to you, you got to know how to be able to answer the questions that they are looking for. And people look at your life too. They use you as examples. If you leaders in the church, your members gonna also watch you, and they gonna wanna. If you're a leader, in the church, your members should want to follow you. And if you leading in the right way, why should they not want to follow you?
We don't have, well, as far as a handbook, you just can't go to Walmart and buy a handbook, and so, yes, there are scriptures, numerous of scriptures that help us understand how leaders should live and exemplify our lives before them, but also we have to go back and look at life experience.
Just our general health has been a struggle, but I want you to know we pray for each other. At home this morning, I prayed for my wife. She was hurting, and I prayed for her this morning. And before she left home, she said, I feel better. I feel a lot better. She actually said, I really don't feel like going. But I said, we're going to pray. And right then, I laid my hands on her and prayed. And within 10 minutes, she said, I feel better. I feel like I can go. God never leaves us, never forsakes us. It's in His Word, and His Word is true. I've learned to depend more here. Since my health has begun to fail and my wife's, we depend on God. Because after all, God made these bodies. I believe in seeing a doctor when you need to. But the thing about it is, the great physician is God.
Naturally, we are humans and we're going to have that decline. But at the same time, God is giving us the strength, and I mean the physical strength, just to keep on moving and keep on going. I think we're still going to be active people with the strength that God gives to us as we move on.
So Derek and I wanted a baby more than anything, and we prayed and prayed, and we did so many things. We sought medical advice, and we tried doing multiple things to try to conceive. And that went on for 8 years, and that was a huge trial in our marriage and personally as well. There was a time, probably 3 to 5 years, maybe 5 years into our marriage, where our marriage was at a very low point, where I was really concerned, like, could we make it? So we decided to turn to God. One thing I did is there was a book called Praying Through the Deeper Issues of Marriage. We would use the devotions in the book, and then we would pray. It seemed like after maybe a month of that and just giving it to God, that God started to just heal our marriage. He didn't give us the baby right away that we prayed for. He doesn't always answer the way we think He's going to answer. But He healed our marriage, and our marriage became stronger even without the baby yet.
Delilah said was true. We were struggling. Infertility is a real issue in marriages today, and I'm so thankful we were able to overcome it. And as Delilah says many times, and we'll probably continue to say, she said, we have to fight for our marriage. You can't just come home to a person every day and say that you love them or show them that you love them. You have to literally fight for your marriage every day, and that's what we do, and we're intentional about it. And that's one reason I think that we've been successful so far.
Even though God did not give us the baby in my womb, He still gave us our little miracle, who's Caroline. She is almost 2.5 now. Caroline is actually a family member on Derek's side of the family. We received a call, and the family member asked us if we would be willing to take Caroline and adopt her. And after prayer, of course, we felt like it was the right thing and the best thing for our family. And if you could have seen how easily everything just fell into place, like God had it ordained all the time. It's not ever how we saw it happening. Like, that was not my plan, that was His plan. A year prior to Caroline coming into our lives, I had to totally give up having a baby on my terms to God. I finally released it to Him, and I said, God, whatever happens, let Your will be done. Not my will, but Your will. And I put my trust in Him from that time, and He was faithful.
If you could speak to those who are coming after you in marriage, who are not as far down the road as you are, what advice would you give them on what to do or what not to do?
When you first get married, yes, you love her, but not to the degree that you do as marriage and days go on and years go on. You learn to love each other. And in that, if that's the person that you desire to be with, then whatever you go through, then you'll make it. You'll make it through it because love is there, number one. God is keeping the marriage, and what you do before Him and how you present it to God, He'll continue to bless.
Probably the number one thing I would say to do is to communicate and to be honest, even if it's brutally honest with your spouse. I think Delilah and I have resolved more conflict like that because there's no shrouding what we think about a situation or about each other. We're very honest with each other. Oftentimes, you have to fight for a marriage, and that it's not 50-50 in a marriage. It's 100-100. Or is what not to do. I often regret lashing out, maybe in emotional anger, maybe watching what I say before I say it. There's many times I would want to go back and take back those things because I know that verbally I might have done some damage there, and so that would be my advice for what to do and not to do.
Pastor Travis said to us, Brother GR, marriage is like a triangle. You have Jesus at the top, or what do we call it, the apex maybe, or the top. And down here is the couple. And as you move forward toward Jesus, you become closer together. I think about that, and it is very true. The closer you walk toward Jesus, toward the cross, the closer you become to each other as you make that journey. And as my husband mentioned earlier, forgiveness. And sometimes it takes a long time, even years, to be able to really forgive. You may think, have a good prayer, conversation with your spouse maybe, and you might think, well, thank God that's over. I'm through with that. And then the next thing you know, in a time of weakness, the enemy is going to bring that to the forefront of your mind. But what you've got to do is, what did Jesus say? You forgive, because you're never going to be able to have a right spirit inside of you as long as you have a grudge or unforgiveness in your heart. But you have to learn to trust God and just keep moving forward. Don't look back.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight, watching these interviews, listening to the struggles, the stories, the successes, the wisdom and the advice given from each of these couples. They have walked down the road of life. Their marriage has weathered through the storms. And I want to encourage you, as we're about to put up the questions on the screen that we ask these couples, questions will allow you to start a dialogue between you and your spouse on how you can better your marriage. Whenever you committed yourself to each other, your commitment was not just to each other. Your commitment was to God. Your marriage is important. Your marriage is worth the time. Your marriage is worth the energy and every effort to stay committed, to not look for opportunities to leave. And I want to encourage every family that is a part of Parkway or that is watching this broadcast tonight, stay committed. Don't look for reasons to give up the fight. Is your marriage going to go through some storms? Absolutely. But the woman, the man that you married, they are vitally important to your success. They're vitally important to your happiness. You can't achieve that happiness outside of this commitment. I believe God is going to bless you as you continue to move forward. Remember every day to tell your spouse that you love them. Do your best to handle conflict with prayer and with compassion. And remember that there are others that will follow behind you. Stay the course, remain committed, and God will see us through. God bless you.